Hey everybody, I'm Josh from J&J Tabletop, and today we are going to be talking about shoes, socks, wool socks, boots, dress shoes, sneakers, flip-flops, because we're
I,
about to talk.
I
What?
think maybe you misunderstood.
What? It's feet, right?
Yeah.
We're talking feats in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
So yeah, we are talking about the new Unearthed Arcana, which was released on Monday, the 13th of July. Josh got to introduce himself. He's Josh. I'm Jake. We are both from J&J Tabletop, and yeah, this video is going to be a little more just discussion-y. We're going to go over the playtest material that they released and talk about our thoughts for it. So why don't we get started?
Sure. And before we talk about any of them, I just feel like I have to say I'm very happy. Just the fact that they're adding new feats, because that is something that I've been hoping to see, from the beginning. Just not from the beginning, but just as we moved on, because it is to the point where it's like, all right, you're playing this type of character, you're gonna play this type of feat, this whatever. And I don't know. I just love to see more options. So.
Yeah, it stinks when you're playing somebody and it's just like, well, you either take the choices that you are supposed to take, or you try something new to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And I think playtest material is usually more powerful than regular material, and they even said that they usually do that on purpose and then tone it down, which I guess that's one way to go about it. I've always kind of thought to do the opposite, but
yep.
But I guess if you want people to try it in the first place, you need to make it enticing to try.
Yeah.
That would be the thinking for me, at least.
It's just fun when they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just make this thing amazing, and then people give positive feedback on it because they think it's amazing. And then they put it out and they're like, yeah, we nerfed it.
Right.
And they're like, why are all the surveys say people aren't playing this anymore, or why not?
Because it sucks now.
You took all the good parts out of it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I guess this is J&J's foot fetish video. Excuse me, feet video. Yeah, so this is all playtest. Obviously, if you're a DM, as a DM, you're allowed to outlaw anything you want, but this is not in any kind of official capacity. And we start off here with the Artificer Initiate. Artificer.
Not Ficer.
Yeah. Anyways, this one really seemed extremely straightforward to me. It's kind of like Artificer wasn't a thing when Magic Initiate was made, so they were just like, yes, you can do that for Artificers. And I don't really see any difference other than that. I mean, did anything jump off to you on that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was going to say about it. It's basically just Magic Initiate for Artificer. Even the name is the same.
Yeah.
But I believe the tool proficiency is a difference, and I think that makes sense too. I think it's kind of nice that they threw it in there. Mm-hmm. If that gets nerfed, it'll just be funny because
this was too powerful. They might be doing that because a lot of the Artificer spells tend to be flavoring more towards the utility side. So just kind of furthering the you're useful in that way rather than being otherwise. Why not just take wizard?
Yeah, true.
Right.
True.
Yeah, then we come down to chef. So you can get constitution or wisdom bonus +1 there. You get to be proficient in cook utensils. And then you have some things that can give you basically like a Song of Rest style bonus, like from the Bard. Mm-hmm. And the only thing here I could think of was when I look at this is I just think he makes magic Rice Krispie treats that he hands out for temporary HP. And I don't know. I just think, why can't you just say your character's talented chef? But I think this is just one that kind of goes past my it certainly doesn't seem overpowered to me. I mean, it's like temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. So
I think if anything, I would say that that's kind of just like a waste, that last one, because maybe at early levels it's nice, but you know, I don't know, just a couple, because what's I don't know. I'm just imagining like higher towards like that mid tier. You know, I'm trying to think of the proficiencies, the number that you get. Forget exactly.
They get
what
up
it
to
is.
6 is the top, and it starts
6
at 2.
is the top. So imagine 20th level getting a +6 temporary hit points. It's like
Okay.
okay,
Sure. Yeah.
but everything else about it, I don't think it needs that. I think it's kind of fun. You know, the
Yes, that's a good word for it.
And I think it's cool to give options like that, like the Song of Rest type thing. But this is more of like it's not a magic. It's just a.
It does say you have to have the ingredients and things and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
don't know
to
if
me,
I would ever take it. But I like it.
that's a good way of saying it. But yes, I think the thinking behind this was definitely fun. Now, Crusher is the first of 3 feats of its like. Yes. Right, so you have, this is for bludgeoning weapons, increase your strength or dexterity. I'm not sure I would think dexterity really applies for Crusher, thematically at least. But once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals bludgeoning damage, you can move it 5 feet to an unoccupied space, provided that it's no more than 1 size larger than you. And then when you score a critical hit that deals bludgeoning damage to a creature, you any attack rolls made against that creature are made with advantage until the end of your next turn. At first glance, I was like, ugh, this seems weird to me. And I just like looked at it for a little bit more, and I was like, no, this is nice. Like, I like this.
I love it.
Yeah.
These are the type of feats that I've been wanting. Just the little extra combat options where, like, you know, your fighter still has all the same weapons available to them, but now they get to specialize a little bit more outside of like the polearm master, where
Exactly.
they're like, I use them all, or not them all. I use a Maul.
Gotta catch Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
I totally agree. Where Dex is kind of like, I don't know that it makes sense to have Dex there.
Right.
I also have a feeling that this will get, if it ever gets published, it will get quote unquote nerfed to when you hit a creature with a melee attack that deals bludgeoning damage. Because I'm sure, you know, someone's going to take that as an archer and be like, well, I have bows, I have arrows that are actually flat and they deal bludgeoning damage.
The only one I could think of there would be maybe a sling, I guess, does bludgeoning damage.
Yeah, true.
But the moving someone on a, like, instead of just being like, ow, it's like,
yeah.
Oh, let me stumble back 5 feet.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, and it makes sense, like thematically. You know, getting hit with just a giant warhammer, and just get thrown back a little bit. I love that. I really like that a lot.
Yes, the more I just kind of like soaked it in for a minute, I felt like this was really good. And even the critical hit, I was like, man, that's really powerful. And I was like, it's only on a critical hit.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you got your bell rung. There you go. You're a little dazed. It's just easier. You're easier to hit, and you kind of shake it off, and you're back in the fight.
Now, if you're a champion crusher, that'd be nice.
That's where I was going. I was gonna say for the crusher, the piercer, and the slasher, anything I think that's going to encourage people to choose the champion fighter subclass, I think is good, because everybody's like, oh, champion, you suck.
Yeah.
Probably not the best build to go with the whole way, but I feel like there's a lot of good multi-class builds that involve the champion fighter.
Yeah, you could do some fun stuff in there, for
particularly
sure.
rogues, because their sneak attack dice is dice. Anyways, moving on. The Eldritch Adept. So we have the prerequisite. You have to either have the spellcasting feature or the pact magic feature, right? So you can't just be like a regular, like a barbarian, or, you know, like a fighter. unless you're Eldritch Knight or something, but you have to have access to magic in some fashion or another to do this. And then basically you can choose a Eldritch invocation. Now, if the invocation has a prerequisite, you can choose that invocation only if you are a warlock and only if you meet the prerequisite. And then as you gain a level, you can do retraining, which is a very common thing to do. I personally love this. Like, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. It just opens up a lot of storytelling potential, creative builds without adding too much complication to the mechanics there. I feel like that's huge. I could see maybe also having a prerequisite of a charisma 13, or like instead of having spellcasting, you know, maybe like instead of like this or charisma 13, I could see having a thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to open the door just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking like, okay, let's say you're a fighter and you want to dip the toe and maybe you take magic initiate warlock. Does that count here for being a warlock? That was some of the wording was a little fuzzy there for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, could you take a Eldritch Blast with Magic Initiate Warlock?
Sure could. Because you get 2 cantrips and a first level spell.
Yeah.
I think I'd be inclined to say, sure, that counts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what rules is written are what they were intending here, but as a DM, I would definitely allow it. Personally.
Yeah, right? Unless it was proven otherwise. And even then, I might be like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Just tell me what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You're fine. But yeah, I mean, this opens up things like Mask of Many Faces where you can just cast Disguise Self at will. Okay. Like,
very nice.
Yeah, I love the just how much that opens up fun little bonuses that you can add in it, right? Like Theros kind of has that with some of the things with I'm drawing a blank, the god stuff that they did.
Blessings.
Yes.
Piety score, like the bonuses you get with all that.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about power creep before in our videos, and this just seems to be just maybe another little baby step along the.
Yeah. But I'm all for this because everyone has access to this. It's not as if
right.
It's not as if like you have to choose the athlete background, you know, to get those overpowered features.
Right.
But it like you know, you could be whatever class, whatever subclass, and then you could still tap into these feats. You know, whether it's player's handbook or anything. So I do like that. You know.
Yeah. Plus, I do like having. I like Magic Initiate and Eldritch Adept in that it just kind of just lets you to kind of just dip your toe in the water a little bit without having to, you know, maybe in a much higher fantasy setting, this would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in like a lower fantasy setting, like I'm gonna get off on a rabbit hole.
Oh, maybe this is the only kinds of magic you can get.
Well, yeah, yeah, like that, or if you're thinking of like that fighter that, you know, made a deal or something like that, they're still probably going to be a really good fighter, but now they have this Eldritch Adept, and it could be that, you know, they made a pact, but it's more of a story thing, like, and less of a like this is your entire class now, you know? Right.
I mean, and it still costs a feat, which is a pretty heavy investment. Absolutely. I mean, if you're not taking human variant and you're not a fighter or a rogue where you're getting those bonus feats, I mean, it's 4 levels before you can do it again. I mean, so yeah, some good stuff.
Agreed.
And then Fey touched. Oh, Fey touched.
I like this one.
Oh yeah. So I love this. I mean, Misty Step is one of my favorite spells in the game. Bonus action, 30-foot teleport. Clean, simple. Que bella. So you could, increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. You can do Misty Step and a first level spell of your choice that's from the divination or enchantment schools. You can cast each of these spells without expending a spell slot. Once you cast either of these spells in this way, you can't cast that spell in this way again until you finish a long rest. So that's the way I'm reading that is I could do the Misty Step once and the other one once.
Yeah.
Right, and then long rest, they recharge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I would read as well.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. And then I just put a few notable first level divination enchantment spells that I just wrote down.
Great idea.
We've got Bane and Bless, Charm Person, Dissonant Whispers, Heroism, which if you haven't seen how awesome Heroism is, watch our Dragon of Icefire Peak gameplay, particularly Woodland Manse Part 2.
The best damage you take is the damage you don't take.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
The best damage healed. I don't know.
Yeah. And then we get into Hex, which more damage is great.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter's Mark.
Also great.
Sleep. And Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Oh, man.
This... Imagine you take human variant. Just like add that to anything.
Yeah, literally anything. But imagine being imagine Marcus with sleep at early level.
Yeah. Again, it would change him. He wouldn't have had Polearm Master right off the bat, though.
True.
But, there's some nasty things you could do with these options.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Fey Touch Plus, I mean, I don't know, how many times have we been like, hey Josh, yeah, I want to do an elf, but I want to somehow make him an Eladrin so I can get Misty Step. How many times have I said that to you?
A lot, actually. I it's been a while, so I totally forgot about it until just now, but yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, so I want to do half elf. You know how you could do the half elf variant like in Sword Coast? Do you mind if I make him Eladrin? It's like every time I make an elven character. Every time.
Yeah. Except for the Friday night fights, that it's the extra 5 feet.
Well, yeah, because range is key. But yeah, big fan of Fey Touched. Then we come to Fighting Initiate, which is pretty straightforward. You just get a fighting style. As long as you're proficient with a martial weapon. Yeah, I think this is good. I feel like a lot of the themes with these feats are trying to let you bend some rules a little bit without having to multi-class.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that's good.
And to expand just certain styles of fighting, of really a lot of melee fighting. But I'm all about it. I mean, cause a fighting style, if you're playing an archer, you're gonna do archery. You can't not do it. It's not that, do whatever you want, but it's a +2 to attack rolls.
Give it a +2 weapon right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
I don't know. I feel like with the fighting style, I always overthink that, and I'm like, what can I choose? Oh, I wish I got access to another one, but I don't really want to play a champion. I like the Battle Master better, and this kind of gives you that option. I like that. A lot.
Absolutely. And then we've got Gunner, yeah, which to me is just crossbow expert for guns. Yay!
That's exactly what it is. I'll say this. First off, I mean, if you're using guns in your world, and they are and it's not common, you're talking how it should be. If you're in this sort of setting where it's and I feel like in every case it's my character actually invented guns, but they invented the revolver and not a musket. Yeah. It's I don't know. I think that unless guns are common in your world, the loading property should not be ignored.
Yeah.
And it's
I think
okay
that's
if
fair.
those are common in your world, but I don't know. That's just me.
And obviously playtest material, DM final sayer, man, woman, person. You just could override whatever is in there depending on, it just doesn't make sense. Like it's fine. But yeah, I mean, like you said, or like we said, it's basically crossbow expert for guns, which is fine. I mean, if you're gonna, I probably would have allowed someone to take crossbow expert in a setting that had guns anyways.
Yeah.
All right, then we got the old metamagic adept, which I think is very interesting to me.
Love it.
Again, we have the same prerequisite as Eldritch, the Eldritch one. Where is it? Eldritch adept. Yep. So, got to be spellcasting feature or pact magic. Basically, you get 2 metamagic options and 2 sorcery points, but they just have to be used on metamagic. So this, I felt like perhaps maybe just 1 point might be more appropriate, but that also limits what you could do. And it's kind of, since they don't they recharge on a long rest, I think having 2 is probably still more fun anyways. 2 bonus sorcery points is good for anyone if you're a sorcerer. I mean, more sorcery points is great.
Yeah.
Now if you're like a wizard or a cleric or a druid or somebody that's got, they want to manipulate their spells in some way, maybe they're just extra talented at it. I had 2 things. One was like, can I take this feat more than once? And the answer is no, you cannot. That is something that is listed. It has to be specifically said in the feat. That's in the player's handbook. But for me, I was just wanted to ask the question, does this take away from what makes a sorcerer special?
So I think anytime you give other classes access to like a class specific thing like this, yeah, it probably does, but you're also getting a very, very limited taste of it,
Yeah.
You're only getting 2. They come back at a long rest, not a short rest.
Yeah.
I like it, and yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with it. I definitely understand that point. If there was a sorcerer and a wizard in the party, and the wizard wanted to take that, and the sorcerer had a problem with it, I would understand.
It would almost be funny, right, if the level 1 human variant wizard has 2 sorcery points.
Yeah.
And the half-elf sorcerer has 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a weird circumstance.
It is a weird circumstance. Yeah. I could definitely see someone doing that. I understand why they would, but
sure.
They're losing access to other things by doing that. Maybe they're not going to be able to get Warcaster because of it. There's it. I like it. There's
Me too.
Such a small amount of feats that you get access to. I mean, not like the list of feats, but the amount of feats that you get or ability score increases.
The cost is high enough to
give really strong options. I think, except for lucky.
Yes, if you're power gaming, the choice is lucky every time. Anytime you can manipulate rolls, just do it. But yeah, I agree. I just felt like that was at least something to ask.
It's absolutely a question worth asking, and I think it's something. It's probably something you should ask your players too. Before you allow it in a game, is that going to step on someone's toes? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think so too. Now we get to Piercer, which is the second of the 3: Crusher, Piercer, Slasher. I really love the flavor that they captured with each one of these.
Totally agree. Yep.
I think Strength or Dexterity makes sense here, and Slasher. Absolutely. Let's see, what was the once per turn when you hit a creature with an attack that deals piercing damage against the creature, you can reroll one of the attack's damage dice, and you must use a new reroll. So that almost like gives you great weapon fighting.
Great,
right?
Right,
the fighting style.
Yeah,
which is cool. I mean, I think I think it kind of just makes sense, right? If you're really good at stabbing something, you're probably really good at stabbing something. I mean, I don't know how else to say that you're just going to more reliably deal damage.
Exactly. And I love to see that they're adding in new things that give people that expertise and that reason to not choose a two-handed weapon. Because previously, if you're like a melee weapon user and you want to do the most damage, you're probably just going to have to do great weapon master, And obviously you're not getting exactly that, but they're giving you more options. Even great weapon fighting, they're getting this kind of thing. I really like it. I think it gives incentive to other type of fighters, and you could see the kind of spearmaster roots in this too, with like how they had that
definitely
that option a while back in a few Unearthed Arcanas ago.
I agree.
But yeah, I love these. I'm all about these, and I'll stop and be more excited once we get to slasher again.
No, I'd be excited. I really like it because particularly for the fighter, I feel like your weapon choice, like anything that allows you to specialize, just adds a dimension to your character that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then this here, when you deal a critical hit with a piercing damage, you can do an extra damage die. So it's almost like the barbarian's brutal critical, and the half orc has that too. Goodness! Now if you're a half orc, I want to pierce a piercing weapon. Good lord! Oh my gosh! With a little dip of the toe in champion fighter to get the extra range, critical toe range. Poisoner. Okay, so
I barely know her.
Right there. So poisoning, that whole thing, like I was never the one to spend too much time like in Skyrim, trying to make poisons and learn all those things. I know that is a big motivation for a lot of players out there with those games and in D&D, and I like that they now have some options for them to kind of go off and specialize in that. Ignoring resistance to poison damage. Anytime something ignores resistance to something, I cringe a little bit sometimes. Sometimes.
Here's I get what you're saying there. I think if it was like ignores resistance plus turns immunity into resistance, then I would be like, I don't know about that.
It's like, yes, this fire elemental now takes damage from fire sources.
Yeah, exactly. No. I think that that's where things get a little much. But I can see something has poison resistance, but you are like the poisoner. Yours is just they've never encountered a poison as potent as the one that you created.
Yeah, you're just that good at it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really have a problem with it there. If it stopped immunity, then I would have a problem with it.
Oh, at that point, I would just say no. Like personally, to me, I just kind of scratch my head and say my suspension of disbelief is struggling right now, but I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of my point of view. I don't see any mechanic really that's like overpowered here. I think there's actually more on the next page. I could scroll down a little bit.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes you better at using. So this one I felt actually was weird. The target must succeed on a DC 14 con saving throw or take 2d8 damage. Where did the 14 come from? Why, if
it should be like intelligence plus proficiency, right?
Yeah, whatever skill they use to create that poison. I forget exactly what it is for Poisoner's Kit. I think they have that in Xanathar's.
You can code a weapon and poison as a bonus action instead of an action.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the DC 14. I feel like it should just be whatever skill you use or whatever ability you used to create the poison. It should be 8 plus proficiency plus whatever skill or ability that score that is.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. Or I mean, now you're getting a little crazy with having different poisons, but you know, proficiency plus the poisons modifier, whatever.
Yeah, I can see that.
But okay, certainly would work for playtesting, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I guess.
And I don't have a problem with it the way it is. I just feel like something like the things we've talked about would have made a little bit more sense to me, but it's fine.
Yeah,
I do like it. I can absolutely see myself taking that as you know, one of my archers, like yeah, you know.
Okay, so Colossus Slayer plus Hunter's Mark plus Poison
plus Piercer
plus Pierce. Oh God. It's kind of the way that would. Oh, critical hit. Oh, good lord. Okay. And I'm a half orc. Okay. But yes, you could really pile on the damage here, and I think as a DM, if you were wanting to make a character feel special, but somehow maybe limit this a little bit, maybe access to poisons could be a way you could limit that, or you know. Yeah. Maybe that's a quest, you know, maybe, you know, these are resources you want to have, so that's part of what it motivates your party to go out and adventure. Yeah, you know, just at that point, just create an ingredient list, and it's not easy to come by. They have to find them. Get the things, yeah. Practiced expert. You have honed your proficiency with particular skills or tools. Let's pick an ability score. +1. Gain proficiency with a skill or tool. You are an expert in that. Cool.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Bit boring. Bit boring, but fine.
Yeah. It is a bit boring, and it just does the same thing we've been saying throughout this. It kind of lets you dip into that dex, or not dex. It kind of lets you dip into that rogue, you know, with the expertise and the double proficiency.
Yeah.
And I think the bard gets a little something like that too. But
yeah, lore bards.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. I could definitely see reasons for taking that. I mean,
sure.
A double bonus, you know, if you're just trying to min max, you get that double proficiency for stealth, and then you do a +1 to dex. That's pretty strong over an ability score increase. Like, I could absolutely see taking that, you know.
Definitely. Or if you want to further make observant more obnoxious, choose perception. Okay.
Oh god.
Now we've got Shadow Touched here, which is basically the Shadowfell version of Fey Touched. So darkness instead of Misty Step. Darkness is a cool spell, especially if you take, say, Eldritch Adept, and you take like Devil's Sight, where you can see fine in magical darkness as well as darkness. So that's a really cool pairing.
Mm-hmm.
And notable first level illusion and necromancy skills. I chose Cause Fear, Disguise Self, and Inflict Wounds. I feel like this is maybe thematically more kind of edgy and cool than Fey Touched. But if I was comparing the two, I would pick Fey Touched every time. Personally.
Too. Yeah.
But I feel like you want to tell a cool story about some dude with dark, you know, that you're playing Orin from Parks and Rec. I mean, like, he's Shadow Touched.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. I think part of that has to do with just our feelings on Misty Step, because I think we both love it. But
and even just the other first level options, the enchantment and divination. I mean, oh, you mean I can have Hunter's Mark and Misty Step?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Dissonant Whispers in a pinch. Make someone run away and attack them. Okay. And then we come down to shield training, which I thought was interesting. I have to move this up a little bit, but I'll just read it. You've trained in the effective use of shields. You can increase your strength, dex, or con by 1. You gain proficiency with shields. You can don or doff a shield as a free object interaction on your turn, and if you have the spellcasting or pact magic feature, you can use a shield as a spellcasting focus. everything seems great to me about this until I just picture like a frail wizard just using a shield. It just, I don't know, there's something there. I feel like there needs to be some kind of something.
Picture a buckler instead of a shield. Small shield, but he's good with it.
Okay. Like Sabine from Rebels. I've been watching a lot of Star Wars Rebels lately.
I think this is fun.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I like that. There was just once again, like a little bit of a disconnect with the way it could be applied, but
yeah,
I don't know. And that was the only thing. That was like the only situation though that I thought was weird. You know, but a lot of games kind of just ignore the need for a focus anyways, right? Like a paladin has their holy symbol around their neck or on their shield itself, so they're like, whatever, here, yeah, I cast, you know, branding smite. It's like, okay, cool. But yeah, being able to just throw shield proficiency on somebody is interesting, actually.
It is, yeah, and it's I kind of looked right over this, but that would be very interesting to see, some sort of a wizard with a shield like that.
Take Landor from our Dragon of Icefire Peak game. Well, now we could throw a shield on top of his AC, and
yeah,
he doesn't have to play his flute to cast his spells.
Oh, I don't like that for a bard. Oh no, yeah.
College of Valor bard, it kind of makes sense because you get medium armor and shields, right? You kind of that charismatic frontline leader, but
yeah, okay, all right. I was just,
but not all,
in the sense that his flute is how he does his things, but he could sing, he could still do whatever. So okay, it's fine.
Yeah. There's a few things with implements that
just a shield, and I was like, that's not a bard.
Yeah, there's definitely spellcasting focuses, implements, however you want to look at them. There's a disconnect with that, and I think a lot of games just overlook that. Be like, you cast it, okay, fine, you cast a spell.
Yeah, that the material components are just not nobody. There are games that track that, and the games that track that are only the resource management ones, from as far as I could tell.
And that's personal preference.
It is, yeah.
Yep. All right, so Slasher.
Ugh.
Josh, you're allowed to get excited again.
Because I barely know her?
No. Yeah, exactly. So you've learned where to cut to have the greatest results. Again, strength or dex, +1. Totally fine with that. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals slashing damage, you can reduce the speed of the target by 10 feet. And I have these like first moments of just like, I don't know, I guess I just have like sacred cows that I don't want tipped over, like just ways of thinking that are just, but that sounds too powerful. And it's like, first off, if you're in melee combat with someone, does that even matter? Probably not for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Secondly, Ray of Frost does that, and it's a cantrip. Get over yourself, Jake. Sometimes I have to remind myself. But I love the critical hit feature here so much. When you get a critical hit on slashing damage to a creature, until the start of your next turn, that target has disadvantage on all attack rolls. Like there's just like there was something about that wound that they have to compensate for. I love the flavor of those three so much.
I do too. They're all unique, and they add something. They're unique, familiar, and they add something very nice. I honestly, I love all three of these. That's just it. I don't have anything else to say to that. I love them. It's fantastic.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just use this very quick example. So you remember Kor, the barbarian. So he was a barbarian. He was a very quintessential barbarian. He was stupid and he liked weapons. So he had a great sword, a great axe, and a maul. And he just, whatever I felt like using that fight, I would use. Having a feat like one of these three would actually make that matter. right?
Yeah.
Although there wasn't a piercing option there, but still, the point is, it now your choice makes it matters more, and it actually gives a little bit more meaning. If weapon choice matters more, so does the different resistances that monsters may or may not have. Seem to matter more.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just matters.
Yeah. Yeah, people, you're not gonna walk around with your golf bag of weapons, or maybe you will, but
Well, Core didn't know this because he's an idiot. But
yeah, well, I'm saying, like, if you really gone into one of these feats and you're like, slasher, I have my my sword or whatever, this is what I use, slasher polearm master, I use a halberd, and that's just what I do. And then you're fighting. I'm trying to think of something that has resistance to slashing. There's plenty of them. I just can't think of any right now because it's been a day. But
right.
You're fighting one of those. In any case, you'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to take out this maul. So now it's bludgeoning damage. But now it's like, well, yeah, it has resistance, but if I roll a critical, then it's going to have disadvantage on attacks, and I get that extra attack from Polearm Master. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to add more to it, and I like that. I like people having like their signature weapon.
Yes.
I know some people are kind of like, well, if you're a fighter, you should be able to use any sort of weapon and just pick it up and be amazing with it.
And
I
you
think
can.
that, to an extent, yeah. But I think it's cool when you also have your specialization.
Yeah.
Over in Martell, fight anyone with any weapon. Yeah. If you give him spear, he's gonna wreck people.
I was gonna go Game of Thrones and just think of Robert Baratheon with his warhammer. Like, he broke the ribs of Rhaegar Targaryen with a warhammer. Like, that was a significant choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that adds a little more meaning to player choice, I think, is fun.
Agreed.
So we got Tandem Tactician. Now this got me thinking for some of the themes that I thought that I'll kind of close out a little bit with. This got me thinking, oh, they're kind of doing a 4E theme with a lot of this stuff. So you can use the help action as a bonus action. That's significant.
That's very nice. That's really. I have a feeling that one's just going to end up not making it through, if any of these ever make it through. But
I had two thoughts with that. One was, well, flanking kind of does the same combat wise. However, a lot of people don't like flanking. That's kind of, I've seen a few polls on Twitter. I mean, that's like almost 50-50. So, but then the next bullet point, when you use the help action to aid an ally in attacking a creature, increase the range of the help action by 10 feet. So now you're in a 15-foot range. And additionally, you can help 2 allies targeting that creature. This screamed to me 4th edition Warlord, right? I mean, obviously, you don't have to be a fighter or a martial character to take this, but
yeah.
I mean, I know you haven't played really 4E. Like, if you're not familiar with it, Warlord that was like the fighter that was designed to be like all the like helpful battle maneuvers that you see in 5E, kind of like the College of Valor Bard a little bit. There's a lot of
Purple Dragon Knight. Yeah,
you're like the leader fighter. Mm-hmm. And so this was this really made me think about that.
Yeah. I think it's a really fun it's just a really fun one. Increase the range of the help action. Interesting.
Again, it's not crazy overpowered, right? Like, if you're a ranged character, you now have incentive to try and follow someone that does this a little bit.
Maybe you have Misty Step too, and you boom take the help action. No, you have bonus. No, you used your bonus action already.
No, but if I'm the archer, I want my Misty Step. Run up, shoot the thing, pop back, or how there's.
Yep. There you go.
But even still, I mean, I guess you could just be a rogue and take cunning action and run away too. But nonetheless,
fair.
There's some cool stuff there, and there's anything that gives multiple paths to some similar goals is probably fun and a good thing.
Yeah.
But this one, I'm very curious how the play tests go, because this this feels raw to me.
You know why it does?
Why? Because it's rules as written.
Well, nice. No. So this, if all of these are taking not all of these, but all the ones that are in the same theme as Tracker are taking bits from certain classes and making them available to all classes as a feat.
Mm-hmm.
Tracker is the Ranger, and the Ranger is also raw. The Ranger is also the class that, and I like the Ranger. It's my favorite class in the game, but it is still the class that they've never figured out and never decided how to do correctly, and how, you know, how they like it and how to fix it in 5e. There's been, what, 3 different versions of the Ranger since Unearthed Arcana started for 5e.
Yeah.
So I that's just if it feels raw, that's my assumption as to why.
Well, my raw comment was actually about Tandem Tactician. But you're 100% correct. I even have here, I was like, why not just call this Magic Initiate Ranger? You know, that was one of my bullet points I wrote down.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, you can have Hunter's Mark once per day. Hunter's Mark is always good. Advantage on survival checks. Yeah, that's cool. You're here for Hunter's Mark. That's, if you're taking this, that's really.
I mean, advantage on tracking. Yeah, I mean, Hunter's Mark is going to be the consistent every combat. It's going to be nice to have, but advantage on tracking creatures. I mean, if it comes up in your campaign, if you're going to be like, I don't know, maybe you're a monster hunter and you have that, that's huge.
Sure.
But yeah, and of course, wisdom.
Wisdom. Yeah. So, kind of like what I was saying before, is I actually, overall, I really thought this is a pretty cool Unearthed Arcana. One of the better ones I feel like they've put out. And yeah, to me, in 4th edition, the way multiclassing worked was you just took a feat, and it was a multi-class version of whatever class it was, right? So, Tracker would have been like, you're a multi-class Ranger. Eldritch Adept, you're a multi-class Warlock. Like, it just felt like they're really, I think 4E did a lot of good things for the game, but I think it just still needed fleshing out. I feel like they're taking a lot of the parts of that game that was good and just introducing it into 5th edition.
Yeah, I could see that. I totally agree about this Unearthed Arcana. It was, I mean, I've been saying for forever that I want to see more feat options. I want to see more fighting style options. Things that make martial characters and martial weapons more special. And this is exactly that step in the right direction for me. It's very exciting. I hope that this makes it through. I would love to see some sort of like, what was it, like Book of the Nine Swords or something like that for 5e, you know, with this kind of stuff in it. The one thing I think is interesting is feats are technically, and I say a bigly, an optional
rule.
Yeah. I don't know of any tables that don't use feats. I feel like it's just an expected thing. It's like, yeah, of course you're going to use feats. Obviously, if you don't want it, don't use them. But I've just never heard of it. But it's just funny to me. It's like optional rules. Here's a whole Unearthed Arcana with another list of them.
I would say you're right. I would say the vast majority of games use them.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought this is quite good.
Yes. Publish this.
Yes, please. We'll just, you know what? Maybe we'll tag Wizards of the Coast in a tweet and be like, "Yo, watch this. Do what we say. And be in good shape."
And they will. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Know who I am?
Anyways, I think that'll probably just about do it for this video. I think the punchy has set in for the evening. But yeah, everybody make good decisions out there. Stay safe. Play D&D. Have fun. Like, comment, subscribe, and then I don't even know what end screen we're gonna throw on this, but you'll have to watch to find out. Adios, muchachos.
We love you.
Okay. Hey, Josh.
Whoa.
Which ancient Greek philosopher had a foot fetish?
I don't know. Which one?
Plato.
Okay.
Or was it Socrates?
Oh boy. How about this? How about okay, we already have Earl, but here comes Toe Jam. We're talking Feats. Or do you think we'd be getting off on the wrong foot there?
Oh. Maybe it's like a holiday episode.
Okay.
You know, like Festivus with the... I mean, there's the airing of grievances, but there's also the feats of strength.
Okay.